American football and the NFL have been a staple in our country's history and a major pastime for decades. Football plays a major role in our communities, not only as a recreational activity and sport, but also as a unifier, a community builder, and a bonder. It also helps us to build character traits and values that are necessary for success and being a great people of a great nation. Although most of us recognize how fun football is and the recreational pursuits and benefits that there are to it, we also fail to recognize the health issues and concerns that are involved when playing a high-intensity, high-contact sport such as football. One of these, one of these main issues that is in our plagues our NFL today is that of concussions. Concussions are a very serious injury, and they're very common in today's league, especially in the NFL. In order to understand this issue, we have to understand three things. First, we need to understand the foundation of the NFL, the history, the background, basically what the NFL is. Two, we need to understand what a concussion is medically. What are the symptoms? What are the treatment? How common? How serious are they? And three, we want to know what the NFL is doing. What precautions is the NFL taking in order to prevent this and preserve our athletes' health and their future endeavors when they leave the sport. So with that being said, we're going to start off with the foundation, the basic history of the NFL. The NFL was actually founded in September 17th, 1920 in Canton, Ohio. Originally, it was actually named the American Professional Football Association, or AFPA. In 1922, it was renamed the National Football League, or what we know today as the NFL. The first president of the NFL was Jim Thorpe, and at that time, Jim Thorpe was arguably one of the most influential, popular athletes of all time. The game and league itself, the league is comprised of 32 teams divided into two leagues, the first being the American Football Conference, or AFC, the second being the National Football Conference, or NFC. The teams play 4 preseason games, 16 regular season games, and 4 playoff games, with the last being what we know as the Super Bowl. Teams play interdivisionally and compete for the title. Each player as they play the game is obviously wearing a helmet, shoulder pads, and leg pads to prevent contact with each other. And the object of the game is to outscore the opponent by marching the ball down a 100-yard field, by passing or running the football into the scoring zone. This is called the end zone. Now that we have a basic understanding of what the NFL is, what it's comprised of, and how it is set up, we can now move on to the issue of concussions. A concussion is a traumatic brain injury, or a TBI, that is caused by a bump, blow, hit, or jarring, jerking motions to the body that causes the brain to twist or roll around the skull, which causes damage to brain cells, as well as even chemical changes in the brain and swelling that occurs as well. Concussions are not life-threatening, however. They are very serious injuries. And although they are not life-threatening, they are absolutely life-altering. Concussions can last anywhere from days to weeks to months, and symptoms can even last years. And some can even be permanent if the concussion is not handled correctly. Some of the symptoms that are evident when a concussion is there are things such as sensitivity to light, headaches, memory loss, balance issues, and the list goes on and on. There's a plethora of symptoms that are associated with concussions. Some concussions may require surgery if there's bleeding in the brain or severe brain damage. However, this is not common. Usually a doctor will ask you to refrain from strenuous activities such as sports and prescribe you pain relief. Within the first 24 hours, someone will usually awake you every 2 hours to make sure that you don't slip into a coma. As you can tell from the symptoms and the treatments and the precautions that are taken by doctors, concussions are a very serious injury and are very common. So let's take a look at what the NFL is doing to prevent this injury and to help athletes get back on their feet. The first thing that the NFL does is address the equipment that the NFL players use. When the NFL first started in 1920, the players were wearing leather helmets, soft leather. We then moved to hard leather, hard plastic, and now we're into a revolutionary age as technology advances where we have helmets designed specifically to prevent concussions. In this past year, the NFL has actually invested millions of dollars in a new helmet called the Zero One Speed. This helmet is layered with multiple layers of padding designed to disperse the shock and trauma that is induced when players hit head-to-head or there is collision. The NFL expects this to greatly reduce the number of concussions we have. Another thing the players use equipment-wise is something called a neck roll. This is something you wear around your neck that is designed to lessen the shock on the neck and spinal area of shots to the upper body. Along with equipment advancements in the NFL, there's also been a lot of rule additions and changes over the past years. Some of these being helmet-to-helmet contact. Hit a player helmet-to-helmet, there's penalties, fines. Players can even be ejected from the game. Above-the-shoulder hits, defenseless player hits. These are all penalized acts in the game of football now. Back in the earlier days of football, this was not a penalty. As the NFL has grown in awareness about this injury over the past decades, they've implemented rules to help to scare players away from doing these harmful acts like helmet-to-helmet contacts, defenseless players above the shoulders hits to prevent concussions as well. Arguably, the most important, however, thing that the NFL has done as they implemented in 2009, and they have been adding to and refining for the past 5 years, 6 years. This is called the Concussion Protocol Program. And what this is, it's a program to help players, first off, avoid concussions, avoid playing with concussions, and as well as help them go through a program and help them heal from these concussions as quickly as possible. This Concussion Protocol Program is comprised of basic six steps that teams monitor as they evaluate concussions. The first is when a potential concussion is identified, the player is immediately, no questions asked, removed from the game. Then a team physician will review the tape of the play, and a third-party neurologist will perform a neurological exam of the player. If there is suspicion of a concussion, the player will be escorted to the locker room where a full assessment and evaluation will be performed. If the player is diagnosed with a concussion, there is no same-day return to play policy. However, if the player passes the exam, he will be monitored throughout the rest of the game and week for concussion-like symptoms, just to be sure. This plan has been essential and vital over the past few years in helping players correctly identify and helping team physicians and doctors correctly prescribe treatment and rehab programs to help players stand up and to recover and help preserve the longevity of their careers and lives. As you can tell, this is a very serious topic, and the NFL has grown leaps and bounds in knowledge and in prevention programs, equipment-wise, rules-wise, and program-wise to help this issue. In conclusion, we take 4 things away from this. 1, common knowledge. The NFL has played a huge, undeniable role in our society and community today, not only in recreational fields, but also in community building, moral and character building as well. 2, concussions are a very serious issue. They're serious and although they're very serious and prevalent in the sport of football, they're in all walks of life, all sports. They can be there, and they need to be handled properly. And 3, the NFL has been and is doing many important things and vital steps in order to prevent, protect, and help players recover from these concussion-like issues and symptoms. Understanding these things, understanding what we can do to prevent, and also the measures and precautions that we can take, can help us preserve the integrity and longevity of the sport that we love so much. Not only for, once again, its recreational values, but the values it has in uniting us as a people, as well as building our characters and helping us find true values such as teamwork, hard work, and many, many more. As you can tell, this is something that is very dear to me and I'm very passionate about, and I know not everybody is as passionate as I am about the sport of football, and as interested in the health and risks that are involved with it. However, I do believe that there is something for all of us to learn and something that we can all do to prevent these things in our communities around us. And having that awareness can only improve and better our society.